This question is from Catherine, and it says, I accepted Jesus' magnificent gift only 1 year ago. Before that were 52 years of being lost, including naming my eldest daughter Juno. I am very concerned that I have gone and saddled my daughter with a name that runs contrary to God. She is now 17 and unlikely to want to change. I would be so grateful for your thoughts on this and what I could do about it. So the name Juno comes from a Roman goddess who is pictured here, and if we're a Christian, the question is it acceptable to have a name or to give a name to our sons and daughters that derives from such a non-Christian origin? I can understand the concern, but as we read through the Bible, and especially the book of Romans, unsurprisingly, we come across many named Christians who are in this exact same situation. They were given names that derived from Greek and Roman gods and goddesses or from characters in Greek mythology. And I think by considering them in particular, but also some others from around the New Testament, we can reach a pretty good conclusion on God's perspective on this. Maybe the most pertinent example to begin with is Junia, who is mentioned in Romans as being well known to the apostles, obviously highly regarded in the early church, and it's reckoned that that name may also be derived from Juno, the exact same source as your own daughter. There's also Apelles, who was called approved in Christ, again obviously highly regarded in the early church, and that name derives from the Greek god Apollo. There's also Apollos, whose name comes from the same origin, the Greek god Apollo. There's also a Narcissus in the Bible, which comes from the character of Greek mythology. He's occasionally described as being the son of a god himself. There's Hermes and Hermas, whose names both come from the Greek god Hermes, the son of Zeus. Julia may be connected to the Roman god Jupiter. Nereus comes from the Greek god of the sea. Olympus was named after the mountain where the Greeks believed the gods lived. We have Mark as well, whose name is even given to one of the Gospels. He's mentioned elsewhere in the book of Acts, but his name is on one of the Gospels and it derives from the Roman god Mars. I'm especially invested in that one because, of course, my own name is Mark. I think Paul's an interesting one because, of course, he started with a nice Hebrew name, Saul or Shaul, which means prayed for. And yet he later changed it away from that nice Hebrew name to the Roman name Paul. It's reckoned he switched to a Gentile name so that he might be able to come alongside Gentiles a bit more easily if he identified with them by having a Roman name. He wrote to the Corinthians saying that he tried to become all things to all people, that by all means I might save some. So in other words, he tried to find common ground with the people that he was reaching. So that's possibly an explanation of why he switched it from the Hebrew Shaul to Paul. But it's just an interesting one because he had that good solid Hebrew name with a really holy meaning, and yet he gave it up to adopt the less holy Roman one. Paul also means small or humble, so maybe he was saying that he wanted to minimize himself in order to amplify Christ. Luke's also a name of Greek origin. Aquila and Priscilla is Latin. Philip's a Greek name as well. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that within the Bible, you will find many people in this exact same situation. People who were given names by perhaps unbelieving parents, people who didn't know God or Jesus, maybe they were just unsaved when they were giving these names out to their kids. A lot of these parents would have actually been born before Jesus, so that makes sense. Maybe they were just the popular names of the day. And importantly, there's no record of this being a problem to God. There's no record of God insisting that they change these names. The Bible seems happy to address them by these names that they were given at birth. Paul's happy to address them in Romans with the names that they were given at birth. There's just no evidence in the Bible that this is a significant issue for God, or that it has any negative impact on their lives or on their relationship with God. And again, I'm struck by the fact that God even allowed one of his Gospels to bear the name Mark. The writer of the Gospel of Mark was actually called John Mark. The first name, Yohanan, is of Hebrew origin, but Mark is a Roman name, and yet it's that one which is on the Gospel. So, yeah, I just wouldn't worry about this. I certainly wouldn't get into a conflict with your daughter about this, trying to change her name or anything like that. She'll be turning 18 soon, maybe already is 18 because I received this message quite a while ago. It was last year. So she's maybe 18 already. And if she is, then she's legally an adult and she'll have to make these decisions for herself anyway. But I would say even as her parent, biblically, it seems God doesn't really have a problem with this, with name origins. It's not something that he concerns himself with too much. There's no record of the early church all changing their names once they came to Christ because this was a big deal for them. And if it's not a problem to God, I think your mind should be at rest and it shouldn't be a problem to you either. I don't think you should torment yourself about this. And yeah, basically I would just say be at peace about this. It's okay. And don't worry, it's fine.